Hello, my father.
My daughter, how you doing?
I'm all right. I'm all right. It's nice to be doing this again. Second episode of
Good.
the Father Daughter Memory Cafe podcast. I like the
Hey,
first
yeah.
episode. So,
I did. I listened to it, and even though I tend to remember everything, um, yeah, it came together nicely. I think. Yeah.
yeah, me too. So how are you doing today?
Um, I'm fine. It's a April day, right? So I was expecting that it would be a bit warmer than it was or it has been this weekend. So I started some gardening yesterday. Looking forward to doing some more today before I get in my car and head up north to Stockton and Tees. And you are?
I am up north, and I'm. It's actually very warm. Like I think I could have gotten a sunburn yesterday. I'm in York, and I'm going to have some coffee, meet some friends for brunch, and then head back down to the Midlands. 'Cause I'm doing mid chops to Leamington Spa today. It's
Hmm.
just a bit of
Good.
a tour of the country.
Yeah, well, I've been to Leamington Spa myself.
Hmm.
I was there for a few weeks doing a demolition job by the railway station. There was an old Vauxhall garage. And it's quite a nice little town. So it has character.
Yes, I think it's beautiful. I'm going to be in a pretty beautiful part of it, so that'll be nice. It will be
Mhm.
lovely.
Good.
So, what are you drinking this
Right.
morning?
Oh, I got the same um Italian number four because your mother is quite consistent with her purchasing. It's coming to you from a special mug. I had to make a note of who made the mug because this mug, like myself, is before microwave time. This is Port of Call by Jeff Blanks. Um, the ceramic doesn't take microwave very well. That's what I'm basically saying. If you put this thing in the microwave for a minute, you can't hold it.
It's
So
because we've had it for a very long time. You know that microwave thing doesn't last forever, right? It's worn off.
I well, I don't know if that protection does was never protected, but um, it gets the cup hot enough to keep the coffee warm though. So yeah,
Where did we get this one from?
we got two of them.
Mhm.
So must have bought them on from some shop that we thought was cute back in the day. It's been a year, it's a couple of years. Well, I mean,
Probably like a couple decades then.
no, it's like over 10 years old. We had two. The other one is chipped solid. That's one for your mother. This one is all right.
Yeah, this is one of those questions where she has the answers. She bought the thing.
Yeah, yeah. I think Whitbread or Whitbread or some shop that sells ceramics, or it could be anywhere.
I actually thought
I
those ones
don't.
came from
I don't.
Jamaica.
No, it has its tropical colors. Probably that's what got us. Um, the appeal to us. But it was also at a time when I don't think we were conscious or active in buying local
Mm.
and art from people who are practicing and not multinationals. So the name on the bottom of it did bring me to recognize that it was probably um, somebody who is finding a way to market their stuff that at the time we bought it. So it,
Oh, very cool.
it holds quite a good amount of coffee. So that's one of the benefits of it as well.
I
And
like
I
it.
like it.
Yeah, it's a good mug. I like drinking out of it too. It's a good big cup of coffee.
Hmm.
Mm. So I've got a Airbnb mug, so I don't have a story about this except that this is from the Airbnb I'm currently staying in. It's a very nice
Hmm.
Airbnb. It's a it feels like a home. You know, sometimes Airbnbs are a little bit Like they almost seem like they could have been a hotel that just turned into an Airbnb. This definitely feels
Hmm.
like it's somebody's home, and it's quite nice to like be here. And I'm with my friend and her baby and her husband, so it's a nice family experience. So that's lovely. And I am
Good.
drinking something called like volcanic Java Strength 5 that I got from Asda. Um, and it's strong, which I like, especially since I'm driving a lot and I'm
Yeah,
enjoying it.
strength five, I would imagine, is a bit stronger than my four. So,
Yeah, and my friend who is a new mum is enjoying the extra kick.
right, well, also name like volcanic lava.
Volcanic
But,
Java.
oh,
Java.
Job, like the country. Java.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. All right, cool.
Mhm.
Well, it's been uh, a week since we last, or 2 weeks. We skipped last week.
Mhm.
Um, I had a cold and I was had things on my mind, so it kind of
Mhm.
was a good chance for me to catch up and reflect on my own things before moving on. And the topic last time was about horses and my horse life, which
Mhm.
when I listened back to it, I I recognized some of the wonderful times I had
Yeah.
as a youngster doing that. You know?
Well, I got very inspired and I have like a sketch of a painting that I really want to do. When I was actually down last week at yours, I thought I was gonna start paint. I thought I was gonna stretch some canvas and start painting like I sometimes do when I'm at your house, but I we were busy, so I couldn't even get to that point where I was like, let's try and stretch some canvas. We had guests, we had
Right,
activities.
right. Well, if it this canvas size varies, so we're looking at big, small.
I was thinking probably about like 100 centimeters high. Like it's definitely gonna be portrait, and then like 50 to maybe 60 wide.
Mhm. Okay, we
See,
got that.
yeah, we definitely can make it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Well, today, what is the themes for the story you want to tell me today?
All right. Well, when we started this, we spoke about um, recording things that happened in my life and experiences that I have had.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a very meaningful one for me was my secondary school life,
Mm-hmm.
which was done at Munro College, which is a secondary school in Jamaica. And
Boarding school.
yeah, but when you say boarding school, people tend to think that it's snotty. But I went there in 1973. In 1972, the Prime Minister of Jamaica declared free education for all. And therefore, in 1973, whether some boys did come by helicopter to school, some also came on the backs of Honda 50 motorbike from humble beginnings. And when you see that and realize the difference in lifestyle and um, accumulated wealth, probably, it, it all goes out the window within the first 2 weeks when everybody is brought down to equals. And that was a very meaningful lesson. Um, they call it ragging, initiation, whatever. Um, it was just a, a system that is frowned on now, but at the time was very effective in bringing everybody to zero, you know,
Zero.
and then from to zero. And then from there, you build your character from there growing up. It's as I said, 1973, and the uh, statute of limitations ex- didn't expire because you still meet guys who you met first day when you went to school, and they still remind you of things that happened, and they love you like a brother still.
So you call it hazing. Is statute of limitations. It sounds like this is a crime. Like you was it bullying? Like what does hazing look like or ragging look like?
Ragging takes many forms. I Okay, let me start at the beginning. My first day at school, my father was off the island, and my mother didn't like to drive very far. So the school offered a bus, a country bus, from Kingston to school, which is a 4-hour journey. And I was put on the bus as a first former with a brown envelope to carry to the headmaster. And I had all my documents in it to say who I am and what I am. The bus ride in itself was a story, but my mother, also being the practical person she is, dressed me in my khaki uniform, which she bought that was supposed to serve me until 4th form. So the hem and the trousers went to my knee, and the shirt, if you took it up, my trousers went to my knee as well. The only thing that was my personal choice was a pair of platform shoes that I wore with like about 2.5-inch heel, and front of it was just as high, because I was 4'8" and weighed 86 pounds when I went there at 11 years old. So getting on the bus, the master on duty was also the deputy head, which was good. And choosing my seat, because I had coming from a school, primary school, which I had repeated the last year to get the qualifications to go to high school. I felt like a prima donna. I was like track star, football, everything. So I thought somewhere near the back of the bus would be a good seat for me. Part of being brought to zero was being kicked to the front of the bus and said, this is not your area. The time taken between leaving Kingston and going to Munro, first questions everybody asks you is where you live. And being the type of person I was, in a house is not an appropriate answer. So, and then the next question they ask you if you have sisters. And being defensive of my sisters, I lied sometimes. It was a lot of prying and interfering and questions asked to try and figure who you are or what you're doing coming to the school. But yeah, it was not traumatic for me. It was entertaining in a way and informative, because by the time I got there, I knew the rules and do's and don'ts of going to school. So 2 guys stood out. One, we call him Rappy, and he was a 3rd former. He was telling me the good things that I need to do. And the other one was Munch. He too was a 3rd former, but he sat near towards the back of the bus. He was kind of rough. And he was explaining to me what would happen if I stepped out the line. So, as I said, after the journey to school, 4 hours, I was inducted properly into what they expect. I got there and they had fellows from my primary school who were there, whose parents had carried them up earlier than the bus gets there. And one of them in particular, who was a year ahead of me, he was able to show me around and show me where the showers were and the canteen and so on. And then you also saw those whose parents just brought them there and were making the bed and packing their lockers away and crying before they left. And then you say, I wonder why my mother didn't come and pack my locker and cry for me. But that was never part of our way of growing up. You know, we were always encouraged to be independent and strong. So the first night was one where you're told about lights out. The seniors were kept in separate dormitories, which was only, it's a corridor separating you. There are no doors or anything to stop them from walking through. The law of it was that you only stay in your own dormitory, but if you got past fifth form, that law didn't apply. You could have free reign of the whole place. The sleeping arrangements were never, for the first year students, never a choice of yours. It was whichever bed was available. You got that one, so either top bunk or bottom bunk. Bottom bunk was preferred because you could sit on your bunk and have it like your own chair. Top bunk had its advantages because some people still wet the beds and would piss through the kaya mattress and wet you up downstairs if you're unfortunate enough to have that situation. Also, top bunk, you're more vulnerable to people dispensing punishment, whether it's guilty or not. Because you're so available, it's easy to swing a broomstick and hit somebody whose foot is on the top bunk rather than try to get between the bunks to hit somebody below. And it was a bit of that. I wouldn't say get used to it, but you are aware and you sleep light and you do different things. You put on 3 pairs of socks or extra padding down by your foot at night if you think you're going to be susceptible. And then by the first 2 to 3 weeks, everybody knows who everybody is. Everybody is equal. Everybody is zero. I was called in by my cousin who is fifth form and said, dance to the music. I said, what music? And they turned on the radio and it was news. And you had to dance to news, And another one said, who want to join the cadets? And everybody, yeah, want to be a cadet. Stand in line. And somebody goes and knocks everybody's head together. So you don't know who to trust, even your family who is there is participating in this kind of behavior. It brought everybody to zero because there was no partiality.
It's interesting because hearing the stories, and first of all, it doesn't sound pleasant. But this idea of bringing to zero and learning the ways of being, it feels like you're being taught a version of masculinity from quite a young age. Like, this is how to, these are the hierarchy in this all boys boarding school masculine environment. But also, this is kind of a version of masculinity that you have to subscribe to. If you're behaving badly, you get punished. And I don't know. I don't like, you're not a person with a lot of toxic masculinity, but I could see how this is a space where toxic masculinity could be fostered. Do you think that's unfair or fair?
No, it shows you in those times, it plants the seed of toxic masculinity. the other events that happen as you get past, as you climb the ladder of hierarchy, tempers that need to be very, very masculine and macho. But then they also had the sports events, the football, you had like 11 football fields. You had 7 cricket pitches, tennis courts, hockey field, and you had 400 boys who, at any given time, you could find 11 people who want to play a game, So you had an avenue for your energy, which gave you a chance also to excel in whatever sport and being a good sports person, a good team player. More than ability, but a team player. And it had people seek you out to be on their side. One of the hardest things is picking a side, and for daily recreation, we had a football game called Paddock, which was a tennis ball on a concrete, it was Paddock tennis, like a small tennis court. It had mesh as a goalkeeper, it had, let's put it this way, it had chain link fence on either end, one protecting the stained glass windows of this chapel, and the other side protecting the windows of the headmaster's house. And these chain link was probably about 10 feet high on either side. So if you're kicking a ball, make sure you stay below 10 feet or you're going to break a window. And if you break a window, you're going to have to pay for it. And there's no escaping it, right? So that court, that field had, that Paddock court was active from you got up until you had to have a shower at 6:30 and no more Paddock after that. But on that field, which was set out like a football field in terms of goalkeeper could use their hands and only the goalkeeper, there was no foul. There was no limit to the amount of people who could play on each side. There was no out of touch for the ball as long as it didn't touch the ground. So it would be like volleyball, where you can keep it up and bring it back onto the field. The important thing was no foul. So you could exact punishment on somebody on that field and not be, in a sportsman-like manner, and not be disqualified from the game. And people would wear shoes, cadet boot, steel toe shoes, anything you could do to help enhance your survival on that field. But the maestros of the game played even barefooted, because even though it could be very rough, it could also be very beautiful. They had guys who had immense skills with a tennis ball, which did not translate to the football pitch. They could not make it on a 11-a-side structured football field. But on that Paddock court in their school uniform, they could be very effective. So on that field, you also had a chance to, as I said, a little bit of revenge if he needed it, but it was watched by a lot of people, so the whole school didn't know the program. It was in itself an institution within the institution, and that comradeship that you had and being selected to be on the side was an important part, because when you stand up at the sideline and you want a game, somebody has to say, yes, come on my side, and to fit in and have character that somebody would want you, being a team player, was very important, and had the spin-offs were companionship or being left alone. That, some guys weren't team players. I mean, they would rather go to the library and read or go walking in the hills. But if you wanted to be, you know, i- included in this macho um, lifestyle that you're being groomed in, then being a team player was an essential part.
Yeah. You described Paddock as rough but beautiful. And I often thought that's how you thought about Munro in general. That it could have been rough, but it also could be very beautiful. I don't know if that's me projecting.
No, being located at the highest point on the Santa Cruz Mountains in Jamaica, you had the opportunity of seeing a sunset every evening that was majestic. You look over the plains of St. Elizabeth, past Treasure Beach, and watch that sun go into the sea. And people tell you see a green light when it goes under, and you look for that green light as the last bit of sun goes under the sea. That in itself was always a quiet moment, and also the start of the night to come. So if you're more vulnerable at night than you are during the day. But the beauty of the end of the day was always something special. The morning wasn't necessarily, there's nothing to it. Everything ran by a bell. So, at 6 o'clock the bell rang, and at 6:30 the breakfast bell rang. You had half an hour between when you wake up to when you get in the dining room. And juniors first, seniors later, right? And chapel was 7 o'clock, so you had half an hour to eat your breakfast. Everything was clicked on a half an hour speed. And 40, 50 years later, I still run a half an hour timer on my watch. That if I need to do something, I can press it half an hour. I can function in that. Whether it be sleep, whether it be get ready, it's institutionalized slightly. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think there's still stuff like that your lessons from Munro that are almost embodied that you still have that you don't even necessarily know? Or maybe they're ones you do know, like the half hour.
Yeah, the half hour is there, but it was said, and I endorse it. There are two things about going to that school in one that if you survive 7 years there, you can go and live anywhere in the world. You don't need to have a, a family support system and a friend support system when you step out into a new adventure, because you're not afraid of the unknown, and you have the ability to decipher who you want as an acquaintance or as a friend. And the second thing that I found is, as long as you went to school at Munro, if you walked into a man's establishment and wanted a job and you could prove or just say, he knows that you went to Munro, you don't even need to do an interview. If you did 7 years there, then you're good enough. You can come and work.
You have the
And
rings? Do you have the Munro
what's that?
rings? They're like rings.
I had a ring and I had a girlfriend, and she has a ring. I don't have the girlfriend. She went to Hampton. She's a lovely girl, and yeah, yeah.
My mother did not go to Hampton.
Doesn't have the ring.
Your tablet's just turned upside down and your audio's just gone weird. Welcome back. We had a little break because of technical issues, which would be very natural for when we were bigger and more, um, you know, that can't, everyone must listen to a podcast. That's where our ad break will go next time.
Okay. That space is for the sponsors.
That space is for the sponsors. Everybody, and if you want to be a sponsor, get in touch. Get in touch. You were saying that mom didn't have the ring.
You know, you said that you asked me if there was a school ring or something that we used, you know. Did we have a school ring? I said yes, but I had a girlfriend. And you said, Mommy doesn't have the school ring. And I said, Mommy wasn't the girlfriend. That is where that was. However, it's a good question you asked because Jacob, or cousin, or your cousin, he gave me a rubber bracelet
Mhm.
which said Munro College. And I remember coming through the airport with that on, and somebody in the official person escorted me to the head of the line, you know? Yeah. And the, 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 the chant, right? Because you asked me how would I like to end the broadcast today, or this, and I didn't tell you anything, right? Because when you're in a crowd and you want to know who else in the crowd went to Munro, you say Bobo Skiwa Ntala, and somebody will shout out Allah Skiwa, and you know they went to Munro.
Is that
And
Latin?
it is Munro gibberish. Part, it's part of a football chant, and
Okay.
unlike the English Premier League where everybody knows this, 40,000 in the stand singing, right? We had 400 boys with a bit of bass in some of their voice and a lot of bass in some of the others. And when we went to a match, right, that was our support team. And we actually had rehearsal for chanting, for cheerleading during the week leading up to a big match. And everybody had to do it, all 400. There's no excuse. You have to be out there and you must know every cheer, you know? And it was inspiring for the footballers when on the field to hear Bobo Skiwa Ntala, Allah Skiwa, Munro, Munro, rah, 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 hooray, coming from the stands, you know. And the Hampton girls, they had it in a higher pitch, but they were singing it too, you know. And no other school really had that. So it was always a little extra gas in the tank, you know, in the last 15 minutes of the match when you need to win. And I know the feeling because from first form, I played football and I thought I'd be a good left back. And on the first day, somebody said, no, you know, good, go in the goal and put me in the goal.
So sorry about the sort of abrupt end to the episode. We had some technical difficulties. And so we're going to split this episode into two, the part A and part B of Munro stories. So stay tuned for the next episode where we continue with part B.